Welcome to the Stronghold Podcast, where we explore capability and truth. I'm your host, Dave Barton, and today's episode is called It's Not Me, It's You. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt that the weight of someone else's tension or judgment, only to later realize it wasn't about you at all? Perhaps you've been caught in a conflict and found yourself second-guessing your worth or apologizing needlessly. Today, we're exploring why many of the conflicts we face have very little to do with us and much more to do with the energies, both human and earthly, that others are experiencing. But what happens when those projections leave us wounded? How do we heal from the emotional damage caused by others' unresolved pain? Healing from past hurts, especially when those hurts are the result of other people's projections, requires intentional work, both emotionally and spiritually. Today, we'll explore ways to heal our hearts and the journey of emotional and spiritual restoration. So let's get into it. First of all, we'll approach it from a faith perspective. To start, let's look at what Jesus says in Matthew 7:3-5. Why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? This verse points to a deeper truth, that when we focus on the faults of others, it's often because we've not dealt with our own internal conflicts. In the same way, when others project their issues onto us, it's a reflection of what's happening inside them. And this is where we can begin to separate their issues from ours. It's important not to internalize someone's judgment or tension when it's not a direct result of our actions, but rather a manifestation of their unresolved emotions and struggles. In the same way that Jesus teaches us to focus on our own hearts, we must also recognize that when others direct their energies, whether through criticism, anger, or frustration, those energies often have to do more with what's going on inside them than with us. This is why Jesus calls us to address our own heart first before attempting to correct someone else. We can choose the biblical foundation for healing. In Psalm 147, verse 3, it says, "He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds." This promise is a reminder that God's healing power is available to all of us when we've been hurt, whether by others' words, actions, or projections. When we've been the target of someone else's unresolved issues, it can feel like an assault on our heart, but God promises to heal our hearts. The key to receiving that healing, however, is to actively surrender our pain to Him. As the Apostle Paul says in Philippians 4:6-7, we are called to present our anxieties, worries, and emotional wounds to God in prayer. And in return, He will offer us peace, peace that transcends understanding. We can also look at this through a psychological perspective. In the field of psychology, there is a phenomenon called projection, which I've already mentioned. This is when someone attributes their insecurities, their fears, or negative traits onto others. For example, if someone is feeling insecure about their own worth, they may criticize others to deflect attention from their own vulnerabilities. These projections have nothing to do with the other person's true character and everything to do with the internal turbulence the person is experiencing. Additionally, from a psychological standpoint, we can look at cognitive dissonance. We see this when people feel an internal conflict between their actions and values. We see this all the time. They often shift the blame elsewhere in an attempt to alleviate their discomfort, the discomfort of their decisions. This displacement of blame is a form of emotional self-defense, And it's important not to take on that displaced energy. As Brene Brown teaches in her work on shame, we must learn to recognize and manage our emotional responses to external conflict, rather than taking on others' emotional turmoil as our own. Healing our hearts begins with self-awareness. When we are hurt by others, it's essential to first pause and reflect on the pain. Ask ourselves, are we internalizing their pain as our own? Are we allowing their judgment or anger to define us? Recognizing when we're carrying someone else's unresolved energy is the first step toward emotional healing. This process of emotional restoration requires us to clear the clutter in our hearts and minds. This clutter accumulates from past hurts. As we recognize what we've absorbed from others, we can begin to release it and restore the peace that is ours by divine right. I recently addressed my relationship with anger in this way. Knowing most of the anger I express isn't my true heart or nature, I went to the root of it, back into my childhood. My intention was not to put down anger, but to treat it with respect and use it with intention. Out of this shadow work, I came up with an intentional path for anger when I recognize it is building up within me. I've decided that I will work to be mindful of my state throughout the day, be in a default loving state. I will value relationships. I will lead with understanding. And I will reserve anger for when action is required and justified. I feel that with this approach, I will recognize and manage my emotional responses to external conflict, rather than taking on others' emotional turmoil as my own. Now, this is a practice, and I have to be intentional, and I have to apply this daily and in all situations. But that is my intention. Now, this brings us to the more subtle energies at play. Human energy. Humans are not just physical beings, but energetic ones. Our thoughts, emotions, and even physical state generate energy that can affect others. Likewise, the energy of those around us impacts how we feel and respond. So when you find yourself reacting to someone else's negativity, remember, their energy may be influencing yours, sometimes without you even realizing it. To heal, we also need to forgive. Not for the sake of the person who hurt us, but for our own peace. Forgiveness is an act of self-liberation. It's a release from the past and an opening to the future. I go into more of forgiveness in episode 18 of this podcast, and I encourage you to go back and check it out. But I've learned and experienced so much since. But I believe the episode still provides a good base on forgiveness. Now, it's one thing to say that we have forgiven. And as I learned recently, it is quite another thing to truly feel the release of your heart via forgiveness. Truly forgive an egregious wrong, and I believe that your heart will thank you. To attain this level of forgiveness, we need to go beyond mere intellectual forgiveness, forgiving for the sake of forgiving. And we need to dive into emotional forgiveness. This is letting go of the heart wounds and emotional baggage that we've carried from others. This is where spiritual practices and heart-centered healing come into play. So diving in to spiritual healing, I believe that spiritually, we are told we are more than our earthly experiences. and we are called to rise above the negative energies that may come our way. In our Creator, we are promised peace that transcends understanding. Philippians 4:7 says, "Then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus." When we remain rooted in our identity as children of God, we learn to recognize when someone else's energy, whether in the form of judgment, anger, or criticism, is not our burden to bear. The act of forgiveness becomes a form of spiritual release. When we forgive, we are freeing ourselves from the negative energy of others and returning that energy to our Creator, allowing Him to work in their hearts. We're opening up that energetic pathway. We must understand that when others direct their negativity or unresolved pain towards us, it's not necessarily about us. In the same way that people have the power to project their issues onto us, we also have the power to protect our hearts and souls from their negative energy. By meditating, praying, and staying spiritually grounded, we can release the burden of carrying someone else's pain. Going a bit further, I believe that psilocybin mushrooms, and they've been proven to show in clinical studies, an ability to help people heal from deep-seated grief, anxiety, and depression. These plant medicines allow individuals to reconnect with themselves and with the divine, often providing a sense of profound love, acceptance, and spiritual insight. I believe they offer a beautiful way to open the heart, reconnect us to creation, and repair our minds. While these plant medicines can offer profound healing, I do want to share, I believe it's important to approach them with respect, in the right setting, and with proper guidance. Whether used for emotional clarity or as a spiritual tool for personal growth, plant medicines can help us clear the energetic blocks that prevent us from healing and moving forward. Another area that we can look to is wisdom from mythology. If we focus on Norse mythology and the power of self-awareness, we can for a moment shift gears, and we can take a look where the wisdom of ancients provides powerful insights into how we navigate external conflict and internal struggles. One of the most famous stories is that of Odin, who sacrificed his eye to gain wisdom. By losing this part of himself, Odin was able to gain a deeper understanding of the world and the forces at play within it. The story is symbolic of the sacrifices we often have to make to gain true self-awareness. When we face conflict or tension with others, we must sometimes sacrifice our desire to react and instead focus on gaining wisdom. This wisdom allows us to recognize the energies around us, our own and others, and choose how we respond with clarity and peace. In Norse culture, there's a concept called Vörðr. It refers to a guardian spirit, or the act of watching over oneself. In the context of relationships and energy dynamics, this is an invitation to guard our hearts and minds from absorbing the negative energy of others. Just as we protect ourselves physically, we must also protect our emotional and spiritual energy from being compromised. So we look inward. We do the work. And another area that we can look towards, in addition to plant medicines, are many powerful healing heart ceremonies. Now, there's many that people can participate in to facilitate emotional restoration. These ceremonies, rooted in ancient traditions, are designed to help us release old wounds, let go of pain from other people's projections on us, and reclaim our hearts. One such ceremony is called the fire ceremony. This is where participants write down their emotional burdens, pain, and unresolved conflicts, and then they burn those papers in a ceremonial fire. The fire represents transformation, transforming the old energy into new possibilities. As the paper burns, participants symbolically let go of the pain and open themselves to new, positive energies. Now, there may be some of my Christian listeners hearing about plant medicines, Norse mythology, and healing ceremonies, thinking twice or leaning toward judgment. But I will share that I participated in my first fire ceremony at the Wild at Heart Christian-led retreat that I attended last year. And it was truly transformational. We're talking healing in this episode that is led by the heart and for the heart. And that may or may not fit into the religious box you have been raised in. And that's okay. Another practice is the sacred circle ceremony, often led by a shaman or spiritual guide. This is where participants gather to share their experiences of hurt and healing in a safe, supportive environment. These circles provide an opportunity to release pain, speak your truth, and be heard without judgment. The collective energy of the group offers healing and support for those who are ready to let go of past emotional wounds. This is another ceremony that I participated in at a Christian retreat. Both of these practices, along with others like sound healing, prayer circles, and guided meditations, create space for emotional and energetic release. They help us realign our hearts with love and peace and guide us towards spiritual and emotional wholeness. Next, let's talk about human and earthly energies and the role of energy in our experiences. Human energy is not something we often think about consciously, but it plays a significant role in how we experience the world. Each person is a unique field of energy, emitting vibrations that affect those around them. And this is why sometimes we can walk into a room and instantly sense tension or negativity. To my skeptics lately, who might think I'm the woo-woo friend, I asked them that when they were kids and their dad came home, could they tell what kind of day he had at work? Or put another way, could you tell when your dad had a bad day at work? Most will say, yeah, of course. Of course, Dave. Well, this is that tension, that negativity that we sensed. That was the energy that was being exchanged. It's also why we might feel drained after a conversation with someone who's angry or upset or unfulfilled. These emotional, energetic exchanges are real. Earthly energies also play a part. The environment we're in, whether it's a stressful workplace, a toxic home life, or a city filled with constant movement, which is one of my least favorite environments, These can amplify or dampen our own energy. The energy of the places we frequent and the people we interact with, they all contribute to our internal landscape. This is why self-care, such as spending time in nature, grounding, practicing mindfulness, and seeking out uplifting communities, is crucial to maintaining our inner balance. When we understand the energetic dynamics at play, we can begin to discern when a situation is not about us. We are like energetic sponges, absorbing the energies of others. But we also have the ability to release what we don't need. By becoming aware of the energies we encounter, we can decide what to hold on to and what to let go. Once we've started on the path to heal our hearts and release the energetic burdens that others have placed on us, it's important to integrate the healing into our daily lives. We simply cannot carry the peace and clarity from a ceremony or spiritual practice into the world unless we make a conscious decision to integrate those insights into how we live. This means embracing new thought patterns that affirm our worth and value, and releasing old narratives that tell us we are defined by the opinions of others. It may be the feelings of that we're not enough, or not a priority, or we're too much. It means consciously protecting our energy, setting boundaries with those who continue to project negativity, or maybe removing them from our lives, and reaffirming our identity in our Creator as beloved children of God. I've started to find amazing healing in this area via identity exchange, led by Jamie and Donna Winship. I've also incorporated intentional practices of Dharma and Orlog. I am on this path to heal. I am committed. They have provided me with a daily mantra I use in all environments, that I will be no more and no less than my authentic self. I choose not to inflate myself or shrink myself to fit into other people's boxes. As Romans 12:2 says, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Let the healing you've experienced transform your heart and mind, and allow that transformation to impact every aspect of your life. That is an exciting and worthwhile endeavor. As we wrap up today's episode, remember, most of the tension, conflict, or discomfort you feel in your relationships has little to do with you. It is the projection of another person's unresolved pain, their energy, and their internal struggles. By becoming aware of the energies at play, both human and earthly, you can protect your peace and stop internalizing what isn't yours to carry. Healing is a journey. And I've mentioned a lot today that I am only just beginning to comprehend. And I know in the grand scheme of healing, I know very little. But I am seeking the truth, and I have committed the rest of my life to this endeavor. It is a process of releasing the burdens that others have projected onto us and opening ourselves to new, loving, and empowering energies. Through spiritual practices, heart-centered healing, plant medicines, and emotional release ceremonies, we can restore the peace to our hearts and step into our divine identity. So take a moment today to reflect on the energies that you've absorbed. Are you carrying the burden of someone else's emotional baggage? Are you internalizing someone else's judgments? Remember that in our Creator, you are free to release all of that. You are whole. You are loved. And you don't have to carry what isn't yours. So as always, thank you for joining me today on the Stronghold Podcast. I hope this episode has given you the tools and insights you need to start to heal from past hurts and reclaim your heart. Until next time, stay grounded, stay wise, and know that your healing journey is sacred.